We started on Tuesday talking about cash in a business and how cash is very difficult for us to track. We were given several hints on how to secure cash. One was to have a rotation of job duties in the business. Another one was to have dual control of something, and we talked about you could have two people that are not honest, that are doing the dual control, and still have some issues. Cash is very difficult to track. When you're the owner of a business, you'll need to come up with some procedures and policies to help you keep track of the cash. The next part of Chapter 6 is dealing with the petty cash and filling out an auxiliary petty cash record. The form that this book uses is not one that I really like. So if you ever have a petty cash account that you're responsible for, you might want to put it in an Excel spreadsheet. You know Excel, and that's two of the classes that you'll have to take as you're working on the accounting technology degree is Intro to Excel and then the Advanced Excel. Within the last semester, near the end of the semester, I had two students come see me that had recently graduated with a 4-year degree in accounting. And they were coming back to SAC to take QuickBooks, Peachtree, and Excel. Wasn't required in their 4-year degree. I couldn't believe it. I just said, how do you not have any hands-on experience, especially with Excel? And it just wasn't required. They took the VCIS, and there's an accounting computer information systems class that UTSA offers, and they have just a small section where they're doing QuickBooks. We offer those hands-on classes, the QuickBooks, the Peachtree, the Excel, and the Advanced Excel. They're coming back here with this 4-year degree to take those technology courses because they didn't get those in their degree. So when you're thinking, oh, what can I do when I get this 2-year degree? I think you'll be better prepared than the ones that have the 4-year degree in accounting. I just was in shock when both of them told me that. They were from two different schools. They weren't from the same school. So, you have those degree plans in Canvas. When we get a little closer to registration for summer and for fall, come meet with me, and we'll talk about it in here, what's available. But meet with me, and let's do some advising to sort of plan out what you want to take. Some classes are only offered in certain semesters. All right. Question?
There's no accounting classes offered?
Well, there's usually not, but I offer 2 of my classes through the Virtual College of Texas, and they've asked that I teach the QuickBooks in the summer. I've asked them how many people are interested in taking it. If I have 10, then we'll probably open it up.
Is that like credit?
Yes. But they come from other community colleges to take the class. And it's an online class, so they can do that. They can take it from anywhere. But they pay local tuition, and then they take my class. So they've asked if I would teach it this summer. My plan was no. I wasn't going to offer any accounting, but if they offer me 10 students, I probably will open it up. So I'll have that information as we get closer to summer. But I don't usually offer any accounting classes in the summer. But the 10P is usually offered, and that's like the degree plan. But any of your core courses are offered in the summer, but sometimes those fill up fast. So that's why, if that's your plan, we need to get into those classes quickly so that you have time to pay because they fill up quickly. Flex 2 starts, is it March 21st? And I was trying to help somebody take some Flex 2 classes, and they were all full. So I don't know if you need a Flex 2 class. If this is the only class you have, I can help you try to find one. But it's usually a pretty intense class. If it's a 16-week class, it's offered in 8. Same with the summer. It's a 16-week class in 8. So it's pretty tough. But there are some classes out there. The 10 key is an an 8-week class, and so is the PC file management, and that's on your degree plan. So those are some things you can take that we'll probably offer in the summer. I don't know. I just haven't offered the QuickBooks or the Peachtree in the summer, and this year I have 27 in one of those classes and 25 in the other. So they're very full. They had to make that class bigger because it was set at 20. So I have 27 in the QuickBooks and 25 in the Peachtree. So they're big classes, but they're online. So it's a little bit manageable to do it online. So let's get back to setting up our petty cash account. And there's just a few rules that I really want you to put them in your notes or to make a notation in the book, because you'll see that petty cash, and I'll have some students on the test that will use the petty cash when they should just use the cash account. So we're going to look at setting up that petty cash account, and then we'll look at reconciling a bank statement. We talked about what the petty cash was on Tuesday. It's generally a fund where we would have cash on hand so we could ask our employees to run an errand for us, or if we needed to tip someone that was making a delivery. It's just for those incidentals that happen in the business, and we just want to have some cash on hand. The auxiliary record is where we will record that. After we run out of money in the petty cash fund, and it's usually a little box, or it's a bank bag, or it could be in the vault. When we run out of that money, then we'll need to replenish it. So we're going to learn how to summarize, how to journalize, and how to post. And then it is an asset account. It usually falls right underneath the cash account, because remember, those assets are listed by liquidity. So it's usually cash, petty cash, and then accounts receivable. There's usually someone who oversees it, and we call that person the custodian. I told you that I'm in charge of what we call the Sunshine Fund here in this department, and I put all of my money on a card that I got at the bank, so I don't have that cash anymore. If I ever have to pay somebody back for something, that's going to be hard to do, because I'm tied up with the cash on that card. When we set up petty cash the first time, we're going to use the account of petty cash, and that will be our debit, and then our credit will be cash. That's to establish the petty cash. Now that is the only time we will use the account of petty cash. The only time. Now we set it up for $60. If we decide next year that we really need to have $100 in that account, then we would have one more transaction, petty cash for $40 as a debit, and cash for $40 as a credit. But we've increased the amount in petty cash. We haven't replenished it, we've increased the amount. Petty cash will always stay on our books for this transaction for $60. We'll never use that petty cash account again unless we want to increase the amount. That's the part I have to have you remember. As we use the amount from the petty cash, we're going to have little vouchers that we'll fill out to say who we gave the money to, how much it was, what the date was. They usually have a number on them, and that person will sign, that person will bring you the receipt after they finish paying whatever they're going to pay, and they might even bring you some cash back. They're numbered sequentially, so we'll see voucher number 1, voucher number 2, voucher number 3, and on that voucher will indicate, was it for advertising, was it for miscellaneous, and remember, if it doesn't fit in one of the accounts that we have on the chart of accounts, we can always use that account miscellaneous expense. So if it doesn't fit somewhere, let's put it in miscellaneous expense. If we need to purchase, let's say, new wiper blades for the vehicle that we have, and we just run out to the auto supply place and we use the petty cash, we could put that one in auto expense or auto repair. repairs. We might have an account called that. If we don't, we'll just put it under miscellaneous. The vouchers and the cash should equal the amount of money that we have in that asset account called petty cash. Sometimes it doesn't, and we have to do a cash short or a cash over. Here's all of the information that can go on the voucher: the person giving the money, the person receiving the money, what it was for, the amount, all of that information, and then the account that we're going to use when we put it in the journal. There's just a picture of what a voucher could look like. I don't have vouchers in my Sunshine Fund. I just have a spreadsheet that I prepared, and I put the date and who I gave the money to, or what I spent the money on, and I put the receipt in the bag. So who said they do a petty cash? Somebody did, didn't they? Kinda. Do you have a voucher?
No, we use a piece of scrap paper.
Okay. But you could do a voucher. How easy would that be to prepare? But if they want money, they probably just, or the owner may just give you a little request, and then you just put that in with your petty cash and that money back.
Well, we have people who come to the church who need things, food or whatever, and so, they give them $10 here, whatever.
Oh, so you use it like a discretionary fund, not really petty cash for items for the business, or for the church?
We do
Yeah.
use it for that too,
But if somebody comes in and says, I need $25 to pay my electric bill, my telephone bill or something, yeah, so you could still use it the same way. That petty cash money could come from people that are making donations, or you could have taken that money out of your cash account and put it in the petty cash. Those people don't want a check that are coming for help because they don't have a checking account. And it's hard to cash a check if you don't have a checking account. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, so they would want to give out cash. So this is the voucher you could use. You might not want to have a record of who you gave that money to, but you probably have a list or a form of how much money you've given out. Mine is just a spreadsheet. At the end of the month, we'll look at the vouchers. Now, they've just given us the dates. They don't have the number of the voucher, but it said we had one for a cleaning package, postage stamps. We probably don't have a postage expense unless we did a lot of mailing of items, and then we might have a postage expense account. So it just depends on what type of business, how big it is, whether you have an account. First aid supplies, where would we put that? Probably miscellaneous. Okay. Delivery expense, we probably have an account there. And then the postage stamps, we probably put that under the miscellaneous. Cleaning, we might have a cleaning expense. Okay, we could. We'd have to just look back at the chart of accounts. And if you don't have a chart of accounts with the problem, then just figure out where you think that might go. This is what the auxiliary record looks like. I would have to change this if I use this form. I think that sometimes it can look a little confusing. Here's the date, here's the voucher numbers, that's self-explanatory. Here's the description of what we did. There's the $60 that we started with. The next column has the payments. Then we have a line that goes all the way up into the heading, and it says category of payments. And they've listed some accounts there. Postage expense, so that tells me we have an account called postage. Delivery expense, and then sundry. What does sundry mean?
Various extra runs.
Various, extra, miscellaneous. Mercantile stores years ago used to be called a sundry store. They could have everything. If you remember Scrivener's when it was here, it was a sundry store. It was a hardware store, a fabric store, a card store. It was an everything store. So sundry just means we're going to put it over there, figure out what account it goes to, and then we're listing the amount. So you can see the headings all the way across, and then you can see at the end, we're at the end of the month, we're totaling that, so we need to replenish it. It shows that we've made $54 worth of payments. how much cash should we have left in that petty cash box? We should have 6. Now, if we don't, if we only have 5, then we'll have to say that we're short $1. And we can do that if it's short. Maybe we miscounted something, maybe somebody didn't bring us back the correct change, but we don't balance. So we'll have an account that's called cash short and cash over. If you work a cash register drawer, you know that you have to have a cash short and a cash over. Don't take the money out, don't put the money in, like my 10 cents several times. If you take it out, then the next day you might be short. Usually it's more than 10 cents. And when it is, you have to look for it. The dollar, I wouldn't look for that. I would just make sure that I added everything correctly. But if I did add everything correctly and I only had $5 in there, I would just do an entry for the cash short. To replenish the petty cash fund, we're going to add up how much we've spent, and we're going to decide where those accounts go. If we have the cleaning expense, the postage expense, the miscellaneous expense, we'll use those one time and the totals that we had from that auxiliary petty cash, and then we're going to replenish it for that amount. The debits are a summary of the total of all of those expenses, and our transactions are like this. Here's the first one: establish the petty cash, debit to petty cash, credit to cash. Here's where we're replenishing petty cash. What account are we using to replenish it? Cash, not petty cash. Petty cash is going to stay the same for the $60. So that's where the rule, we only use petty cash when we establish. To replenish, we're writing a check out of our regular cash account. Petty cash will be unchanged. We had postage expense of 15, delivery expense of 21, cleaning expense of 3, miscellaneous expense of 15. Manuel.
So all you're doing is at the beginning of the month, you're putting the total you should have in petty cash, and then you just write up your total expenses. And so when you replenish the $54, it brings the balance back up to $60 in petty cash, right?
Back up to 60. Then we're ready to start. And it wouldn't have to be the end of the month, because let's say we didn't have any expenses, or we just had $5 that we expensed. We wouldn't have to replenish it until we're getting pretty low. They just did it first of the month, end of the month. It's just when you run out of money in the petty cash that you need to replenish it. The change fund, we've talked about the starter money that's in a cash register drawer. Some businesses start with about $75 in there. Some might start with $100. What did you say you start with? Okay, so if you have 10 cash register drawers and you're always keeping $150 in that change fund, that is cash that's out of circulation. You could use that money quickly if you needed to. Just deposit it back into your checking account so you could write a check if you needed to. But that money is really, it's not available for use. So we probably need to have an account, if we're putting that much money into it, is the cash change fund. And it would be an asset, and it would be however much we keep out of circulation. And why do we have to have change? If you've ever had a yard sale, you have to make change. You need change to give to people. I have a booth in Night in Old San Antonio, and we had our first meeting on Tuesday night. And if you've been there, you know we have the little coupons that are 50 cents. Well, they have to make change if they're 50 cents, so they had to have quarters. Well, now the tickets are going to $1, not 50 cents. They'll be $1, and they're a bigger ticket. And either the price went up on the item that you're selling, or it went down. Mine is $4. I have the shrimp poor boy booth, and so now I'll just be collecting 4 tickets instead of 8. But why did they have to do that? They said they had to have too many quarters in those little towers where they sell the tickets. Okay, so they had too much money that was out of pocket that wasn't available because they had to have that change fund. So anyway, tickets to get in are going up too. They lost money last year because it was so cold. Remember how cold it was during Fiesta? And Fiesta this year is much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Night in Old San Antonio is still just 4 nights. So do any of you go to that? Oh, you don't? I like to go, but I like to be behind the booth. I don't like to be in the crowd. If you like walking through the crowd like this, yeah, that's fun. Anyway, it's not fun. It is. It's that close. And then you get things spilled down the back of you and everything else. So anyway, so here's our change fund, and we're writing a check again from cash, and we need to have the actual $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever it is, whatever denominations you decide. Handling the transactions for the cash short and over. Errors do happen when we're making change. And the cash short and over really doesn't have a normal balance on it. If we're short, we'll have a debit. And if we're over, we'll have a credit. Okay, so we just have to use that. If we're short and we're making the entry with cash, and cash is our debit, and we're short, we have to list that it was short with the debit to that cash short and over. And it's not a cash short account and then a cash over account. It's short and over. So you can see that it just really doesn't have a normal balance. A shortage is an expense, and if you're over, it's an asset, it's a revenue. It's other income. So that's how we're going to list it over there. We have to show it. On December 5, a pizza shop rang up sales of $5.60 for the day, but only had $5.30 in cash. Are we short or over on that transaction? Okay, so there's the rule of the T account, and then that's what our entry would look like. Cash $5.30, cash short and over, and then our sales. So we're showing that we were short. We have to make up the difference. Now, if this happens too many times with the same person that's running the cash register drawer, you can lose your job. I don't know how many times they give you at different places. How many times? Or is it a dollar amount?
It depends on the dollar amount, and basically they just start eyeballing the person very closely to see if it's purposeful or a training issue.
Yeah.
And also they have to make sure that it isn't the people counting that are transposing digits and everything else.
Yeah, so there'd be, and maybe there's 2 people that are balancing that drawer. The person that used the drawer, and then someone else in the auditing department is counting it up. I know the first day that I worked by myself as a teller years ago, there are people that are very good at distracting you while you're counting out the change. And they're good at that, and they do it on purpose to distract you. If you're responsible for cash, before you just put it in your cash register drawer, lay it across your cash register drawer, or leave it up on the ledge on the cash register drawer, because someone might say, I gave you a 20, when they really gave you a 10. Can you prove that they gave you a 20 or a 10 if you've already put it in your cash register drawer? You can't. So the first day I worked by myself as a teller, I was short. And I was short the exact amount of a check that I had in my work for that day. I'm sure I cashed that person's check twice. You know, whether that person started talking to me, and I was so nervous, that it was a very long time ago. And I'm sure I just cashed her check twice. Never thought anything about it. We probably started talking about something, or she asked me a question. The cashier from the bank called her, and she said, oh no, the teller didn't. But I had to have cashed her check twice, because I was off the exact amount of that check. I didn't lose my job. No. My first day, I think they just wrote it off as a cash short. But I could have if they had had that policy. It was a small town bank. It was the one where we filed checks by signature and no account numbers. They just wrote it off. So, but it was my mistake. And remember, there's no way to track that. You know, if you're working a cash register, you'll have that item and that amount in your cash register that you took that money in, that you made the change. And we had to put every transaction in the adding machine. We weren't computerized back then. That was a very long time ago. And so we had to put it on our adding machine tape. So we knew that was a check that came in, and when we counted out the money, we knew it was the money that went out. So they're very good at distracting you. New teller on the job? Target, right? Right, sucker is right. And I did it. I'm sure I just cashed it twice. On December 5th, the pizza shop rang up sales of $560 for the day, but had $610 in cash. Over or short? Or over. It's just as bad because we've shortchanged somebody. We haven't given them the right amount of money back. Here's the rule of the T account, whether it went up or down, and then there's what the transaction would look like. Cash, $610. Our sales were only $560, and then our overage is the one that's showing up as a credit in that cash short and over account.
So you keep that $50 as a tip.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you have to record it. You know, and we've talked about how it's so tempting sometimes when it's cash. My husband works at Steve's & Sons, and he's the purchasing agent there. So he buys a lot of materials. He buys materials from a box company here in San Antonio. Lots of cardboard. And last night we had a dinner with the owner of that company and his wife, and he was bringing Tom the rebate check for all of the purchases that he did for the year. How much do you think the check was for? It was a rebate check. $150,000. That's a lot of cardboard, isn't it? I know I'm always after him. I said, aren't you making those deer heads yet out of that corrugated cardboard? He said, because that's the latest thing, things made out of cardboard. He said, no, I'd have to sell a lot of deer heads to make what he makes on boxes.
They're actually making fire alarms out of compressed cardboard now. Like fire
Really?
alarms.
Is it the trash from the,
Produce boxes that they make for it.
oh, so recycled cardboard?
Yeah, recycled, they take it, they compress it, shred it, and
Oh,
compress it.
good way to recycle it though. And you see trucks going down the highway that have the recycling. I know the Fiesta Commission is really working hard this year on recycling. There's a class at St. Philip's, and that class is going to be picking up our boxes. I have boxes every night with the buns that come in for the shrimp poor boy, and they're going to recycle those as one of their projects. It's an ecology class or something over there at St. Philip's. But what a great way to recycle those boxes.
If you really want people to recycle, you gotta turn it into a profit motive.
Yes.
You gotta give them a way to turn their trash into money,
Right.
and they'll gladly do it.
Or show them what you're doing with it. You know, there's lots of things that are made out of milk bottles and soda bottles, and you know, people need to see, is it worth my while? My husband does not like to recycle, but I'm a recycler. I don't know, is that a girl thing? Are we recyclers? I don't know. He will take out the trash, and I'll say, now remember, that's recycling, and I go out later and there it is in the trash. He doesn't recycle. I think it's important.
I do too. Everything from a tag off of clothes to.
I just recycle, yeah.
I carry the big stuff to recycle.
Oh, and now we have recycling that comes, the school gets money if you take it there, yes. I just put it in the trash. I don't know, do they just mix up the trash and the recycling when they pick it up? Maybe. I don't know, but I feel like I'm doing a good thing. But Tom does not like to recycle. So, I don't know, is it a guy thing, guys? Do you all recycle? No.
I
Yeah.
use things.
Clothes?
Yeah, like glass
It's a
strips
long
and stuff
story,
like
so
that.
I don't just.
Oh, so you're used to recycling.
It's a long.
I think it was the other night on Jimmy Fallon, They were talking about recycling, and they had about 30 bins. And it was pink, it was chartreuse, it was yellow, it was brown, it was green, it was black. It was all these different colors. And so they were recycling, and they were recycling styrofoam, but the styrofoam cup had lipstick on it, so it had to come out of this bin and go in the pink bin because it had lipstick on it. I mean, they were just making fun of people that recycle, but, you know. But I thought, oh my gosh, that's probably me doing that recycling. Because our recyclers do not want styrofoam. Yeah, they don't want styrofoam, and they do not want shredded paper. And we shred paper at our house, but they don't want the shredded because they can't sort it. You know, it's little pieces of paper. So they don't want the shredded. We need to come up with something to do with shredded paper. So let's look at the cash short and over in the petty cash. A local computer company established petty cash for $200. On November 30th, the petty cash box had 160 in vouchers, as well as 32 in coin and currency. Are we balanced?
No wonder.
How much are we short?
$8.
8. Okay. So there's the rules of the debits and the credits, what we're doing. You might have to ask yourselves those questions. What accounts are affected? What's the category? Increase or decrease, debit or credit? You might. And there's the transaction. So we had postage expense and supplies expense from the vouchers from that petty cash auxiliary record, cash short and over, and then our cash. Were we short or over when we have a debit? Short. Remember, it's an expense. In the case of an overage, the cash short and over would be a credit as other income. Okay? So let's look at the demo problem that we're going to do, and it is 6A3. If you'll pull your workbook pages out for 6A3, it's 6A3. In my book, it's page 253. And then find your workbook pages. And you should have a journal and then an auxiliary petty cash. It is, yes, Joyous Company. And you need a journal and then the auxiliary petty cash. And you won't be using that for your homework, so you don't need those pages. Six A.
And a worksheet, right?
No, you don't need a worksheet. You just need
Just that page?
a journal and an auxiliary petty cash. If I can get my light to come on here.
Okay.
Oh, I think you do have ledger pages, don't you? I don't think we'll spend the time, though, to post it in class. I don't know why this thing is acting weird today. If I can get it to come back on. Let's let's look at what we're going to be doing on 6A3. It's 253 in my book. The following transactions occurred in April for the Julius Company. And we have from the 1st to the 30th. And then on the next page it says your tasks are to do the following. Record the appropriate entries in the general journal as well as the auxiliary petty cash record as needed. Replenish the petty cash fund on April 30th. And it says we're writing check number 18. So on the 1st of April, it says we issued a check number 14 for $125 to establish a petty cash fund. If you'll get your journal out, and it should be, oh, mine doesn't even have a page number. Does yours have a page number on it?
That's G195.
Mine doesn't have a page number. Let's see if I can make it a little bit. It's April the 1st, and put the current year. Our debit is going to be petty cash, and our credit is going to be cash. How much did we open it for? $125. Our description, establish the petty cash. Petty cash establishment. Right? No, you can if you want. The question was, do you write the check number? You can put the check number in there if you want to. You'll find now with some of our companies and the situations in our book, they're giving you more information than you need. So you have to decipher what you really need. Okay? Like an old-timey word problem. So you really don't have to have that. You want to put the check number. If we were using a special journal, this would be in a cash payments journal. And we'd have the check number. It would look like our checkbook. We don't use special journals in this edition of the book. When you take the tutor for 6 and 7, or 7 and 8 are together because they're the payroll. 9 and 10, since it came from an older edition of the book, they talk about special journals. That's why I said you only have to get a 75 on those. Because they're talking about some things that we just briefly mentioned. We're not actually doing it. You can skip a line, and let's go to the next transaction. Just skip a line. On the 5th, paid $13 from petty cash for postage, voucher number 1. Does that go in the journal?
No.
Good. It doesn't. It's going in the auxiliary petty cash. So if you'll find that second page that you're using for that problem, we first have to put the amount that we established it for on the 1st, established it, $125. Then let's record the transaction. On the 5th, we had voucher number 1. Payment was $13. And it said it was postage. And we do have a column that says postage, so we can put it right there under the postage. And we don't have to carry it over to where it says account or where it says sundry. We had a special column for that. That's almost like what a special journal looks like, because we'd have a column for the account so that we wouldn't have to always write the account name. We don't have to write anything in that description. You could, if you wanted to, just to say postage, or if we wanted a record of what that postage was for, what we were mailing, so we could bill it back to that customer, we could do that. On the 8th, we paid $16 from petty cash for office supplies, voucher number 2. Does that go in the journal? It's going in that auxiliary petty cash. It's the 8th. We don't need to write the year again. The payment was $16. We have a column that's called office supplies expense, so we can put the $16 right there. On the 15th, we issued a check number 15 to Real Bell Corporation for $240 from past purchase on account. Bless you.
Thank you.
Where does that transaction go? It's going to have to go to the journal. The date is the 15th. Cash was involved. It should make it a little bit easier. Cash was our credit. Our debit was accounts payable, and I did the diagonal and Real Bell and the diagonal and the post reference. $240, my description was paid Real Bell Corporation, and I did write what check number it was there, check 15. Remember, when we get into the subsidiary ledgers, we'll be looking for that diagonal when we post. On the 17th, we paid $16 from petty cash for office supplies, voucher number 3. When the word voucher, that we used a voucher, is in the description of what's happening, we know that it has to go in the petty cash. So there's the 17th transaction. We must all be allergic to that tree that's blooming today. It was voucher number 3, payment of $16, and they said it was office supplies, and we do have a column for that. We're not keeping a running balance of what's in the petty cash at this point. On the 20th, we issued check number 16 to Angel Corporation, $625, for past purchases on account. Cash is involved. Is cash the debit or the credit? The credit. If you don't remember anything else, remember cash. We'll never get away from the debits and the credits. Accounts payable, and I did the diagonal and the company name. I also put the diagonal in the post reference, and a credit to cash. I wrote the check number in my description, and I wrote who I paid. Debits and credits equal. You have enough space to skip a line between your transactions. On the 24th, we paid $13 from petty cash for postage, voucher number 4. Now notice in this problem it's saying that we paid it from petty cash, but when you get to your problems for homework, probably won't say that you're paying it from petty cash. It's just going to say voucher number, and you'll have to know that it's your petty cash. Alright, and you can see I had a description there and I took it off because we do have a column that's called postage expense, so we don't have to have it there. It was voucher number 4 on the 24th. Payment was $13, and it's going under the postage expense. You probably probably don't have enough room on the auxiliary petty cash to skip a line in between those. Probably need to just put it one right after the other in there. On the 26th, we paid $11 from petty cash for local church donation, voucher number 5, and it's giving us a hint. It's a miscellaneous because we don't have donations. So again, we need to stay in that petty cash auxiliary record. The date is the 26th. Voucher number 5. I did write that it was a donation on this one because we don't have an account called donation. I said that it's going into the account miscellaneous expense, and I put my $11 over here. That's under that sundry area. Would we need to know that the donation went to a church? Maybe. You know, you could put, if you were designing this form, or if you were the custodian of the petty cash, how much detail do you need? I don't know, if anybody's going to come and check on the petty cash, let's say you have an external auditor that's coming in, let's say you have an internal auditor that wants to audit the petty cash, because that petty cash is listed on the balance sheet. Would we want a better description than just donation? Maybe. And that one would go under the sundry. We're putting it under miscellaneous. On the 28th, issue check number 17 to J. Moon to pay for office equipment $725. Where does this one go? Back into the journal. Right, office equipment. Cash again was involved, so cash was our credit. We wrote a check. And office equipment. On the 30th, it says we're going to replenish the petty cash. Right, yours should look like this. We have 5 vouchers. Let's put some totals in there. Let's total the amount that we have for receipts. It should still be $125. We haven't changed that. That's what we started with. I didn't show you my totals yet. Add up your payments. We had 13, 16, 16, 13, and 11. In postage expense, we had 2, so our total is 26 there. Don't just trust your addition in your head. Use your calculator. Office supplies, you had 2. 2 for 16. And then over in the sundry, we just had 1, the miscellaneous expense for 11. So to replenish, we need to know what did we spend, what did we start with, and what do we have left. Right, so there's our totals. Our 125 was unchanged. Payments, you should have 69, yes. Postage, 26. Office supplies expense, 32. And then under the sundry, 11. Now the 26, the 32, and the 11 should equal what you have in the payment. So you can check yourself before we go to see how much we need to replenish. If when we count in that petty cash, and that's what the next little section is right there, Here's our 125. When we count, and we counted and we had $56 left in the petty cash. Is that what you're showing that we should have left?
Can we take that?
I put the ending balance, I labeled it ending balance. I just assumed that we were correct, that we had the right number there. I subtracted the 69 from the 125, and I got 56. That's what we should have left in the box. If we don't, then that's where we need to show that it was over or short. Down at the bottom, I did another little calculation that says the ending balance was 56. I needed $69 to replenish it. My balance went back up to 125. Now it's showing in the petty cash auxiliary record that we're balanced, but we've not done anything to the cash account. We haven't done anything to the postage expense, the office supplies expense, or the miscellaneous. So we need to record a journal entry to replenish the petty cash. Remember, we never use petty cash again.
You're too fast.
Oh,
Your next meeting is not with me.
We have to.
just think if you had to really count all that money. So it's just our calculation at the bottom to show what we need to replenish that to bring it back up to 125. Because that's what we started with. Okay, now can we go to the journal? All right, let's go to the journal then, and that's our last transaction. It's on the 30th. We're replenishing that. The numbers are coming from the auxiliary petty cash. Postage expense, we added those together. We took that total. Office supplies expense, miscellaneous expense. If you have 3 postage expenses on that auxiliary petty cash record, don't write postage expense 3 times. You'll have to post it 3 times. Add those up so that you just have one posting to postage expense or miscellaneous. We could have had more to miscellaneous than just the one. 32 office supplies, and your total should be on your petty cash auxiliary record. Miscellaneous expense 11, and then what we need to put back into the petty cash box or drawer, vault, wherever you keep that petty cash. My description was replenish petty cash, check 18. We were using a special journal. This would be in your cash payments journal. We're just putting everything in the general journal in this edition of the book. And then what we have to do to bring our accounts current is that we would have to post. But I'm not going to ask you to post for this one. I think you get enough practice with the posting. So let's reconcile a bank statement. Hopefully you've already done one of these. When I taught accounting at the high school level, sometimes when we did this part of accounting, some of my students never ever got reconciling the bank statement. It's really not that hard. It's just we need to remember where we need to put the entries, what we're going to do. We're going to look at 6B1. So if you'll turn to 6B1, and you're doing 6A1 for homework. You do have an A problem for homework in this chapter. Slacks.com received a bank statement from French Bank indicating a balance of $8,200. Based on Slacks.com check stubs, the ending checkbook balance was $9,000. Your task is to prepare a bank reconciliation for Slacks.com as of July 31st from the following information. Journalize as needed, because we do have to make some journal entries after we finish reconciling. Now, we had some new terms in Chapter 6. Checks outstanding or outstanding checks. Those are the checks that we have written that the bank has not processed yet. They're out there somewhere. They're in the mail. Who knows where they are? They're in somebody's cash register drawer. They're in a deposit that hasn't been made yet. We also have deposits in transit. Deposits we have made that the bank doesn't have yet. Now those two items, the outstanding checks and the deposits in transit, should already be in our checkbook. We've already recorded the deposit. We've already recorded that we wrote the check. C, it says Slacks.com forgot to record a $1,300 equipment purchase made with the debit card. Who's already processed that payment? The bank. But we haven't recorded it. The next one is the bank service charge for $55. Remember, I told you on Tuesday, as soon as that statement is made, the bank is charging you that service charge. But have we recorded it in our checkbook yet? Probably not. And then French Bank collected a note for Slacks.com for $1,090, less a $5 collection fee. Who has already processed that? The bank. So let's look at the bank reconciliation form. Are they all like this one? No. Even the ones in the book are not all like this one. If you like this form, you can put this form on another piece of paper and not use the ones that are in the book. When you look at the back of your bank statement, you should have a form that's similar to this to reconcile your bank statement. It might not look exactly like that. The one on the test looks like this, except I don't have the add and the deduct on there. So we're going to have to think, are we adding that or are we subtracting that? The left-hand side on this one is the balance per the bank. The right-hand side is the checkbook balance. So let's go back and look at the information. We want this number and this number to equal when we finish. What did it say the balance was from the bank on the bank statement? $8,200. And what was the checkbook balance? Right. Let's put those two numbers in. The balance per bank and then the checkbook balance. Now we need to pull some information from what they gave us in the problem. Let's look at the left-hand side first. And as we go down through that list, the balance per bank, what is in our checkbook that the bank doesn't have yet? A and B. A and B. So let's list the checks that we have written, they're in our checkbook, but the bank doesn't have them yet. There's not very much space there, but I wanted to write down what check numbers they were. It was check 122, it was check 130. Now, in our problem, they told us which ones were outstanding. How would we determine if we had the bank statement and our checkbook, which ones hadn't been processed? Which ones didn't show up? And it might be a matter of checking them off in your checkbook and matching them to the ones that are on the bank statement. You'll have to determine, they're giving it to us which ones are outstanding, but in the real world, you'll have to determine which ones didn't get processed. Most checking account statements will have the checks in order by date, how they process them, but most of them will show the check number. So you can look at the check number. Do any of you reconcile your bank statement online? QuickBooks and Peachtree does it in a heartbeat. Lorraine, do you do the bank statement? Oh, you don't? In QuickBooks yet?
My boss does it.
Okay, so you're not doing it. Okay. But it's a breeze to do it in those two automated systems. Could we do this in Excel if you were good in Excel?
Yeah.
You could set it up yourself if you wanted to. So we have two checks that are outstanding, and I put the total there. I also put a minus there. On the test, you won't see the deduct. Why are we subtracting it from the balance per the bank?
Because those are outstanding. Those are going to be deducted as soon as they are.
Good.
Actually.
As soon as the bank gets them, they're going to subtract them from our balance. Okay, they're just out there somewhere, haven't reached the bank yet. Now, it also said that we had a deposit in transit, right? For, how much was it? $2,100. So up at the top, I have listed the $2,100 for the deposit that was outstanding. Oh, sorry, you can't even see it. The add is over there to the left. As soon as the bank gets that deposit, they are going to add it to our account. On the test, you just won't see the word add. You'll need to know we add the deposit, we subtract the outstanding checks. What's this deposit called? The $2,100? Deposit in transit. It's traveling somewhere. What is our balance now on the bank balance side? Because I think that's all we needed to work with, wasn't it, for the bank? What's our new balance then for the bank balance side? I added the 2,100. I subtracted the 850 and the 720. We have 8,730. Do we equal what the checkbook said we had? What did the checkbook say we had? We still don't balance, do we? So let's go to the checkbook side and see what we need to do. We had proceeds that the bank put into our account for $1,090, plus it had a $5 collection fee. We had a bank service charge, and we also had that $1,300. We didn't put that in, did we? We forgot to record it, but it already went in. That $1,300 we forgot to record. So let's look at the first item that we need to put on there. Our checkbook says that we have $9,000. The bank collected, and I subtracted the $5 from the $1,090. I didn't list that as an expense. When we record it in the journal, we need to. How much money did the bank put in for that note that it collected for us? $1,085. The note was for $1,090, and then they subtracted a $5 processing. I didn't show that one, but I added that to the checkbook balance. The bank's already processed that. Then we had the debit card purchase. I sure would hate to have forgotten to record $1,300 as a purchase on my debit card. That's why I was still writing checks when people were using debit cards, because you don't forget to write it in your checkbook, and you would subtract it. But we forgot to record it. So we need to subtract the $1,300, and the bank also charged us $55, didn't they, when they did the bank statement? Bank service charge, $55. Now, if we add and subtract those two, do we balance? There's our $9,000. There's our note that we received. There's our debit card that we're subtracting. There's our bank service charge that we're subtracting. And I put a minus there by mine with my total. Do we equal?
What you got back to yours?
Does it look like mine?
Oh, the lower, oh, okay.
We want those two numbers at the bottom to equal. When we talk about the bank side, the bank statement side, a deposit in transit needs to be added, an outstanding check needs to be subtracted. On the checkbook side, the bank service charge needs to be subtracted. The bank's already processed that. The note, if we have a note that they collected for us, the bank has added that to our account already. We need to just add it to our balance. And then if we forgot to record something, and this was the debit card purchase that we made, the bank takes that out immediately, and we forgot to record it. So we need to subtract it, and then the service charge, that service charge is subtracted from your checking account as soon as that statement is processed. They're going to make sure they get their money. So we need to subtract that. We want those two numbers to equal. Again, if you don't like the way the form looks in the book, you can draw this one on a piece of paper. This is a good one, I think, to use to reconcile. Just change the company name up there. Now, our accounts still are not current. We still need to go to the journal, and we need to record the transactions.